Good morning, everybody. I'm Chris Worden.
I'm Andy Jones-Wilkins.
And I'm Aaron Barber.
And we are here after a little bit of a delay and some other big things happening in the Aravaipa universe to talk about the results of our most recent Sonoran Desert Cup race, the Elephant Mountain 35K, which took place on February 1st at Cave Creek Regional Park. We talked about a preview for the race, and from what I understand, looking at the standings, there were really not a ton of surprises out there. Maybe a couple of names that filtered in that we didn't expect, but for the most part, I think things held to our expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as we did the pre-show, we sort of knew that on the women's side, Lindsay Prescott and Megan Kupris would have a little bit of a showdown, and it looks like they did, although Lindsay managed about a 6.5-minute win.
Yeah, that's actually pretty significant when you're racing against somebody like Megan. She's pretty quick, and I actually talked to her last week at Black Canyon, and she was seeming like she was okay with it. She's been pretty busy with a lot of things going on, but. No, but Lindsay, I apologize. That sounds like I'm detracting from Lindsay's excellent race, because Lindsay is extremely fast runner, as we mentioned. I believe has run the Olympic trials.
Yes,
so
in the marathon. Yep.
So apologies if that's how that came across. But congratulations.
And 7 of the top 7 finishers, 4 were women. That stood out to me.
Yeah, overall, absolutely.
Yep.
It was a nice balanced field at the front of the race. How were conditions out there, Aaron?
It was a little bit warm, but pretty ideal. It was,
okay.
I know last year we had like cold and rain, and this kind of made up for it. So, as you know, the desert's been really dry, so the course wasn't as lush and green as it usually is. But running conditions were, I think, right around 70 degrees, and yeah, pretty standard.
Yeah, it was pretty dry out there that weekend. I do remember that.
And it was the third of 5 weekends, 3 races in the Sonoran Desert Cup.
Yeah.
All directed by you.
Correct.
Have you caught up on sleep yet?
Yeah, it's getting there. I did have to go right into Black Canyon and a little bit there. But I usually get an easy job with Black Canyon, which was the case this year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a few off weekends before Mesquite.
Well, that's entirely fair. I mean, like Black Canyon is obviously a huge operation. I mean, people were pulled in from all over the country at various other Aravaipa offices to help with this event this past weekend. So, we can give you a little bit of a, hey, stand here and point which way to go.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, to recap the top of the standings from Elephant Mountain on the women's race. We had Lindsay Prescott first overall in the women's race, 2:58.07. Megan Kupris second, 3:04.53. Kelly Littleton out of Montana, 3:20.49. Following there to round out the top 10, Brittany Lump, Christy Petrovello, Emma Lazik, Kaylee Guymark, Lindsay Yazzie, Jackie Jacoby, and then tied for 10th, actually, Megan O'Connor and Krista Wamsley. So we had a couple of ties, actually, not only in the F8 and F10 categories, but also, I believe, 3 and 4 overall.
Yeah.
Because as we flip to the men's race, actually, we'll just pull up the entire list. But Lindsay Prescott and Pete Kostelnik, a familiar name to those who watch a lot of live streams, finished together.
Yeah, they ran the whole thing. I wouldn't say hand in hand, but as close to it as you can.
Well, and for Pete, it was just a stroll out into the wood or out into the desert, because if you're not familiar with Pete, he is usually running many more multiples of
add a couple
35K.
zeros to that. So.
For the men, Ryan Wendell came down from Colorado. Do you know if he's raced here before?
Ryan Wendell was a name that was new to me.
Yeah.
Has done a few ultras, including Tillamook Burn and Moab Red Hot Ultra, but nobody that I was familiar with.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
Aaron?
he was friendly, but I've never seen him at a dirt series or Sonoran Cup race.
Roy Pearson, no stranger to Aravaipa racing, finishing in second. Pete Kostelnik in third. Jonathan McKinney in fourth. David Fisher, Ryan Guymark, David Harris, Tim Kilpatrick, Jason Nelson, and Brian Craig rounding out the top 10. One thing I will say is that the course records on the men's side, nobody came close.
Right.
2:43.20 was this year's winning time. The course record is 2:26.55. And actually, looking at that course record has held up for
Gosh, look at that.
15
all the way back
years?
to 2013.
That's a pretty stout record.
I should know, too, real quick, I know we're focusing on the 35K, but if you toggle over to the 22K, Julian Kuyu, who's our winner of the fall series, did get the course record. I think he broke his own course record in the accompanying 22K. Went out for a little quick short run, but as we know, Julian is already into the dam run in April, but stretched his legs for the short one and just by a few seconds took his own record down.
He called the shot pre-race, said he wanted the break his own course record, then just went out and did it.
And you can tell Julian loves that race because he's done it in 23, 24, and 25, improving each year. So unless we miss our guest, Julian will probably come back in 26 and maybe drop another minute off that course record. So.
But I thought that was cool to see. He's already known that he's into the dam race later on this spring. So that was fun to see him jump into that shorter one.
Yeah, we can take a moment to congratulate the winners of the other distances as well. Stacey Purnell winning on the women's side in the 22K. In the 50 miler, your winners were Damon Chavez and Taylor Smith. In the 50K, you had Isaiah Ford and Leah Genth. In the 12K, you had Matthew Hamilton and Carly Dodd. And in the 6K,
the showcase event.
yes, you had Kyle Legters and Stephanie Flaster. Actually, what's kind of funny, I'm looking at the ages. Usually on that 6K at Aravaipa Mountain, it's usually a 9-year-old that comes in and just basically torches the trail.
You got to go all the way down to 8th place for a teenager. That's pretty cool.
Stephanie's pretty interesting. She's pretty close to undefeated in these short stuff. She's more of a road runner, but she runs a lot of like the 5K and 5-mile distances, and I think it looks like she's got 2 second places. Okay. And the rest are wins on her ultrasinum. But a lot of the shorter stuff, she's got wheels.
And again, Aaron, that we had before we get into that's okay. Before we get into the overall standings, it was another 500 plus participants thereabouts.
We did. We had 520
across all the distances. So again, what a way to start the year with the 3 Dirt Series races, the 3 Sonoran Cup races, all going all north of 500 participants.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Just great for that sort of winter running here in the valley, showcasing 3 distinct and different regional parks.
I will say it is amazing to me. I mean, we obviously had an enormous event this weekend, thousands of people here for Black Canyon, and it's one of the biggest showcase events in the country. But I guess I just take for granted the fact that a lot of people will come out for things like Elephant Mountain, Cave Creek, or, Pass Mountain, and there's still 600 runners out there, or, and maybe over 1,000 people in total, volunteering, crewing, pacing, whatever. It's pretty amazing how robust the trail running scene has gotten here.
Yeah, we had a group of 18 people come from all over. Like, it was a group that knew each other, but California, Virginia, New Jersey, and they all came and kind of met, and we're doing all the different distances, 6K up to 50 mile, but one big group. I thought that was cool, and no locals in that.
And that is fantastic, yeah.
That is really amazing because, it's understandable when you hear about people, we're used to hearing the stories of people come here. They traveled from around the world for Cocodona. They traveled from the East Coast for Javelina. But now you've got people coming from all over for races that maybe we have taken for granted, because this is the kind of stuff that I feel good on a Saturday morning. I'm going to head out to the regional park and I'm going to drop into this race, obviously as an Aravaipa employee. But, and I know plenty of people that drop into these races and show up day of, and we'll do a race day registration, and maybe they'll get a shirt if we've got some extras to spare. But I think it's really cool that we're seeing now that the circuit races are becoming more of a destination thing.
Just in the last 2 weeks, I've been contacted by 4 people that I don't know, via direct message, who are in either Copper Corridor and Mesquite and want to just come out and spend a week out here. They're sick of the snow wherever they are. They're sick of the snow. They're sick of the cold, and they're like, "I'm going to go to that race. I'm going to take another week off. Get a Airbnb. Where should I go running?" It's really cool to see. They can anchor it around an event, a low key event that's not hard to get entry. There's no lottery or anything like that, and they can get onto this dirt in the midst of their cold northern winter.
And this might sound like an infomercial at this point, but I feel like one of the things that I'm most proud of when I talk to runners from other places, as I did several people this weekend at Black Canyon, they are amazed at the Aravaipa experience. When they get into, when they come into an aid station at mile 20 of a race or mile 38 of a race or something like that, and it's all hands on deck and everything is laid out so perfectly, and you've got large tents and basically a miniature pop-up city, people are amazed, and they go back to wherever they're from. And and I hope in some cases, the race directors in other places have taken heart to what we do here and leveled up their game, because I think everybody should have the kind of experience that I feel that we've got here, because what we have here is truly special. And a lot of that is credited to the people, the race directors who make it all happen.
Thank you.
I mean, the template was laid out, obviously, and it has been over years and improved upon. But you're one of the people that helps drive the change and the progress as far as taking care of runners at these events.
For sure, I love to do it.
Of course, that is the race number 6 in the series overall, number 3 in the spring series. Our final event is Mesquite Canyon, and that is. What is the date on that?
March 8th.
March 8th. Pop quiz there. March 8th, and that is out at the White Tank Regional Park.
Yeah.
And the far west end of the Phoenix Valley. It's basically literally like on the other side of that, you're kind of pushing California. So
a great course. Very different, very tough. We'll have a pre-show for that. But
it's so
that'll be a lot
technical.
of fun. There's a 50-miler all the way down again.
Yeah. Of course, we'll be running out there for sure.
Indeed.
But let's catch up on the standings overall for the DRT
Right, can you
series.
get the standings up? There we go. Chris has done a great job keeping these organized.
So this right here is the standings for the entire series. There
we go.
And on the women's side, Megan Kupris is pretty well locked in based on her spring series results, having, I believe, a first and a second. You need 2 races to qualify, and also be in the top 20 in the points standings. So those in the purple actually qualified in the fall. Actually, in the fall, and the ones in yellow have qualified in the spring series based on multiple races. Now that doesn't mean they're locked in, but I would venture to guess at this point, if you're talking 20+ points, you're probably going to stay comfortably inside the top 20.
It sure looks like it.
Yeah. Unless everybody
comes to Mesquite.
Yeah. So
it is interesting, though, when looking down the names of the women, if Lindsay Prescott, Nicole Hansen, Elsa McDonald, Lauren Puritz, all strong runners, right now have one finish in the spring series.
It's got to be top 20.
If they decide to come along to Mesquite, they could join the fun at the dam run.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking Olympic trial qualifiers and golden ticket winners here. So, if they showed up and barely eked out a top 20 spot, then at a local race, they might be something might be terribly wrong.
That's right.
But on the men's side, those who qualified in the fall, Devin Sharps, the Aravaipa Racing Team, the aforementioned Julian Couillou, Jason Nelson, and Kurt Houghton. But then in the spring series, qualifiers include Nathaniel Chan and Bradley Zartman. Of course, as we mentioned, these standings are by no means completely full. So we'll see what happens. Interesting that the top 3 men in these first 3 races, Michael Tom Cheney, Ryan Wendell, and Scott Traer, all won a race but haven't run another race. So they're sitting atop the standings basically on the strength of one result.
I'll be interested to see if Scott in particular decides to jump into Mesquite, and you never know what he's going to do.
Right. Also debatable if he can get top 20.
Yes, we do worry about those runners such as Pete Kostelnik and Scott Traer potentially being able to finish inside the top 20 at any given Aravaipa event. So only if that event were maybe a Western States golden ticket race. But so that's currently where the standings hold. Of course, as we mentioned, Mesquite Canyon coming up on March 8th. We will do a preview leading up to that as well. I think that pretty much has us covered for Elephant Mountain, though. Is there anything else that we need to touch upon?
Well, I think it is. We ought to just make a quick mention of Black Canyon this past weekend.
Sure.
In the midst of the Dirt Series, in the midst of Sonoran Desert Cup. Oh, by the way, we have one of the biggest 100Ks in the country. It takes place this past weekend. It was wonderful. Thousands of runners here for the 100K and the 50K, and again, second year in the new venue at Deep Canyon Ranch. Just went off without a hitch. It was just an incredible run. Much better conditions than last year. No delayed start for the snow. Those of you who followed along on the live stream, thank you for doing that. It was a wonderful weekend out there, and great event.
Yeah, a lot of drama in both the men's and women's races. So,
cool.
that was something to behold. And of course, you can also check that out. I mean, the entire race has been archived on YouTube on the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel. And of course, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what has got the entire trail running community a buzz right now, and that was the release of The Chase.
So cool.
Trailer.
The trailer for The Chase is out. The film about the Cocodona men's race in the 2024 Cocodona 250. A great list of cities already scheduled, and I think it's important. We mentioned it on the live stream. It's worth mentioning again. There's a lot of folks saying, "Well, we need a showing in Tucson. We need a showing on the East Coast." Please go to the website. There's a place where you can click on host a screening and contact the folks who are producing the film and look into getting a screening in your town.
Yeah. And also one more thing about that I do want to touch upon is the fact that one of the concerns seeing the preview is that this story covers a handful of men participating in the 2024 Cocodona 250, and there was concern or questions raised about whether or not the women's race was going to be covered in such a fashion. And all I can say is stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I think there's a potential parallel. I think most people remember the 2010 release or 2011 release of the 2010 Western States Unbreakable. And then a year or so later, Billy Yang came out with an incredible film, Life in a Day, which showcased, 3 or 4 women in the race. So stay tuned.
No, I
think
love that
it's very
parallel.
clear in 2025 we have an incredible women's field for Cocodona. And perhaps there'll be some cameras on them.
Yeah, I assume that that's actually something we're going to be talking about in the weeks leading up to Cocodona, how exactly we're going to cover this race, because there's going to be a lot of eyes from start to finish on Cocodona this year. I mean, we're used to having thousands of viewers at all times, but I think this year the level of anticipation and, to borrow a term, stoke is going to be unbelievably high. So.
It will absolutely be. But please check out that trailer. Check out the website, Aravaipa website. Find The Chase linked on there. Also, no rest for the weary. We're heading to Las Vegas tomorrow, Henderson, Nevada, more specifically, to cover the Jackpot Festival of Races.
How could I forget the fact that we're going to Nevada to cover a race coming up on Friday?
That's right.
So
the USATF 100-mile championship.
I do love covering races on Friday because I feel like Saturday races, obviously they're great, don't get me wrong, but Friday there's something special about doing races on weekdays that we know. If you're sitting at home or if you're sitting in the office and you're at your laptop, you're at your computer and you're working, you can have us on in the background. Yeah. And we are totally not invasive. And this year, the jackpot field is going to be the biggest we've seen in, I think, since the first year we covered it, where, you've got some top-tier names and some people who are potentially going for some big American.
Going for world records. People
American or world record goals, So.
And it's a fantastic venue for drone shots, for close-ups of the runners, for crews, for it's wonderful television. Actually.
I do love the fact that we've got, from where we sit, we've got visibility on runners, I want to say about 90 to 95% of the time. There's one little stretch where we can't see them going down a hill, but other than that, we have complete visibility of everything that's going on in the track while we've got light. And even at night, they've got the course fairly well lit because they don't want darkness to be a factor in the race.
Right, and no one has to wear a headlamp or anything like that. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We're going to Vegas. Here we go, Chris.
Going to Vegas. I've already started to try and make dinner plans for the night before. So, folks, tune in with us this Friday for the Jackpot USATF 100-mile National Championships. Once again, I'm Chris Worden.
Andy Jones-Wilkins.
And Aaron Barber.
And we'll see you this weekend.
Cheers, everybody.